Hi everyone and welcome back to my channel. I hope you guys are doing well today. So if you are new around here, then I've created lots of property and financial content before, so you can go back on my playlist tab and check that out if you're interested. But today we're going to be focusing on the costs associated with buying a property. So I'm going to be talking to you about the survey costs, the legal fees, estate agents, all of that stuff. So don't worry too much about the size of the house you're buying. The costs are typically similar regardless, because the work that they have to undertake is the same regardless if you have a 2-bed house, a 4-bed house, etc. Okay, so first off, something that's optional, so you do not have to do this, but something that we personally went for was a survey. So when you're buying a new house, it really is prudent to get a survey undertaken on that, just to ensure that the property is in a good condition. So there's different levels of surveys that you can opt for. You can opt for basic surveys, you can opt for more complex surveys. Some of them will just check the structure of the house, which I think may be a requirement actually for your mortgage. I may be wrong, but I think that might be a requirement. But the reason why I'm not entirely sure is because we went for one of the best surveys you can get. So the survey we went for checks everything from the structure of the outside of the house to the loft, everything. It checks every single point about the house to make sure you know what you're buying. I think it's so important to do this because you don't want to just go ahead, buy a house. There could be major problems with it, and if you haven't had a survey undertaken, there's not really much you can do about it. Whereas if you have a survey, there's an element of protection there. So the survey that we went for was the building and condition report, and this one was £825. So this is a little bit annoying because you do have to pay this upfront before you even exchange. So this is something you will have to save for, you'll have to pay for out of your own pocket. You can't pay for this from your house sale proceeds because it's something you need to have done before you even start buying the house. So basically we made an offer on the house, that got accepted. We then had that survey completed before we even looked at exchanging on the property, because had there been any major problems with the house, we would have pulled out and wouldn't have gone ahead. So it's really important to get that report done quite early into the process. It can take a while. I think we had to wait a couple of weeks for ours to be done. It just depends on demand in your area. It just depends upon how busy the survey companies are around your area. So when you are looking at a survey, you could just simply go onto Google and search for it. You can look at the RICS register as well. That'll have all RICS regulated surveyors on there, and you could just contact a load of different ones. Get a few quotes. I always recommend that. I always typically get 3 or 4 quotes when I'm dealing with something like this, so I can understand roughly what a reasonable price is. And that was the most reasonable price that I could find. Obviously prices will depend upon your area. I live in Essex, fairly close to London. Everything around here is expensive. Everything from houses to the cost of things around here is expensive. You may find if you're up north it might be slightly cheaper. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, that's just how much it costs for me. The next thing you'll have to pay for is a mortgage advisor fee. So obviously if you source your own mortgage, you will not need to pay this fee. So again, this is another optional one, but personally when you're getting a house, I think it's so much easier to just use a mortgage advisor. They can look at the market for you, so they'll research the whole of the marketplace for you and they'll find the cheapest mortgage available. So they'll look at interest rates, they'll look at terms, they'll look at the maximum borrowing. So with a mortgage advisor, you're more likely to get the best borrowing possible that you can for your salary, because they can fill out a really good application form. The mortgage advisor I used had contacts with the lender that I had, so he could talk through the case with him as well. And by using a mortgage advisor, it just gives you the best possible chance of getting the most competitive interest rate available, the maximum borrowing, and they communicate with your solicitor and they also communicate with the estate agents you're buying from as well. So it just ties up really nicely together. It stops you needing any stress. Obviously there's things you still need to do for them, but I personally found spending the money on this was so worth it. So that was £500 and I actually paid that at completion. So once the house buying process completed, that was then paid for. And that money was also an upfront fee. So I did not pay that from the sale proceeds of the previous house that we sold. We paid that upfront as well. So certain costs you can deduct from your house sale proceeds. So if you are buying a house and you're selling a house, on the final day, some of the fees can come out of the house you sold, but certain fees can't come out of that. In our personal case, we paid for that upfront. The solicitors did not deduct that from the sale proceeds of the old house. Another fee is a mortgage initial fee. So this will vary on every single provider out there. So different lenders will have different fees. Some will not have an initial fee, but a lot of them do have an initial product fee. So the fee that we had was £1,000. You can pay this upfront if you want to, but often people just add this to their mortgage. So we just added that to our mortgage. It avoided another fee needing to be paid. When you look at it, really, it's beneficial to actually pay this up front, because adding £1,000 to your mortgage over the whole term ends up being significantly more than £1,000 with all the interest that you pay on it. But at the time, we did not want to spend another £1,000 out of our pockets, so that was just the easiest option for us at that point. Now I'm going to get on to solicitor fees. So the fees I'm telling you are not for selling the previous house. So there was separate fees associated with that as well. I believe that was around £1,000 or maybe 1,200, something like that. I don't have the exact figure to hand, but there was a separate fee for selling the previous house as well. But the fees for buying this house, so there was a purchase cost and land registry searches, and that was £998. So that was the bulk of the fee. So the next is something called a searches pack, and that is £302. And then you have land registry fee, and that is £135. Then you have an indemnity policy premium, and that was £105. And then finally you have a transfer of equity costs and disbursements, and that is £731. So if we're looking at the total legal fees together, you're looking at, so the total legal fees all rounded up were £2,271 for the purchase of one property. And then finally, if you're looking to sell a property as well as purchasing one at the same time, you're also going to deal with estate agent fees as well. So every single estate agent out there is different. Sometimes they'll have offers going on at the time, so there may be an incentive to use them. At the minute, the property market is absolutely inundated. Everyone seems to be selling their homes. Properties are flying off the market so quickly, so there may be incentives for that, or there may not be, because estate agents know that everyone wants to sell their house at the minute. But at the time that we sold a house, the estate agent fee was 2.5% of the property being sold. So they are paid on completion, and they are actually taken out of the house sale proceeds. So the property that you're selling, the solicitor will just deduct the estate agent fees, pay the estate agent on your behalf, and you'll see that on something called the completion statement. So basically, when you complete and you get your new house, you'll have a document called a completion statement from the solicitor, and that will outline all of the fees, and the estate agent fees is one of them, and that is outlined on there as well, and then they pay the estate agent, if that makes sense. So the solicitor fees are also taken on completion as well, so you have the option of paying them from your previous house sale proceeds if you are selling a house, or you can just pay them out of your money in the bank if you want to do that. So we personally paid them from the house sale proceeds. So if you are buying and selling, typically that's what people do. Obviously it's down to your circumstances, if you can afford it, if you want to pay it, but you can just take it out of the proceeds from the previous property if you wish as well. So going back to the estate agent fees quickly, because I forgot to say this, how most estate agents work is that no sell, no fee. So unless it goes through and you complete on a new property, you won't have to pay the fees on the house you were selling, which is really good, because it's not great to have this big fee hanging over you. A lot of estate agents will tie you in for a period of time, so you'll sign a contract with them to put your property on the market, and you're not able to sign with a new estate agent for a set period of time. It could be 3 months, it could be 6 months, and basically they have the right to try and sell your property for you during that period of time. This doesn't mean you have to sell. You can take your house off the market and then there won't be a fee to pay at all, but it just means if you don't get on with your estate agent, you can't necessarily find another estate agent and start trying to sell with them. You have to stay tied to a set estate agent for that period because you've signed up for them with their fee, if that makes sense. But every estate agent is different, every solicitor is different, every fee I've mentioned to you, it's just my situation. Obviously yours will not be the same, but hopefully this just gives you an idea of the sort of fees you may be looking to pay. So buying and selling properties is not cheap. You are looking at thousands and thousands for fees. I always typically say try and set aside around £5,000 for fees. If you're looking to pay everything out of your own pocket, a mortgage fee, the survey fees, the solicitors, all that stuff, I always think around £5,000 will probably cover you, and you might have a little bit of money left over at the end of it as well. But I just think it's really important to over exaggerate these fees sometimes and have more set aside than we need, because it would be awful to get close to the time and realise you're short. It wouldn't be an ideal situation. So I think it's great to over plan in these situations, save more money than you need, just in case there's a hidden unforeseen cost. I think it's really key to do that. So I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Like I said, I've done loads of property content on my channel, so if you're interested in any other things such as buying a house, moving, the renovation process, any of that, just go back and look at my past videos, because there are so many videos on there and hopefully you'll find them helpful. One fee I didn't mention is stamp duty, because stamp duty is so dependent on you as an individual. It depends if you're buying your first house, it depends if you have a second property, it depends on the value of the house you're buying, so I really can't tell you what your stamp duty is going to be. Obviously you guys will be aware aware that there's been so many stamp duty changes over the recent months. They're coming to an end soon, so stamp duty will just resume back to normal unless they extend it. But when it comes to stamp duty, just go online, type in stamp duty calculator. You can pop all your details in there and figure out exactly what your stamp duty is going to be. The stamp duty can be anywhere between a couple of thousand to 20,000 plus, depending on what situation you're in. Even more than 20,000, but that is not an abnormal situation to be in. So just be mindful of that as well. It's a big fee to pay out for, and it's another thing you're going to have to consider and save up for. So yeah, I really hope you guys found this video helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you did, and I will see you really soon.